podcaście 99 twarzy AI rozmawiamy o wszystkim, co związane z technologią, innowacjami i oczywiście sztuczną inteligencją. Przygotuj się na luźne, inspirujące i często zaskakujące rozmowy z różnymi ekspertami, programistami, naukowcami, przedsiębiorcami i ludźmi, którzy na co dzień pracują z AI. Podcast 99 twarzy AI zaprasza Karol Stryja.
Witajcie. Święta coraz bliżej. Także dzisiaj odcinek specjalny. Jakiś czas temu miała miejsce promocja książki Przenikanie, umysłów autorstwa Aleksandry Przegalińskiej oraz Tamilli Triantoro, wydanej przez wydawnictwo AIBooks, któremu przewodzi Ewa Chamczyk. Przenikanie umysłów pomaga znaleźć odpowiedź na pytania. Jak wykorzystać potencjał sztucznej inteligencji w codziennej pracy? Czy maszyny zastąpią ludzi? Czy staną się naszymi partnerami? Co oznacza być ludzkim jednorożcem w świecie zaawansowanych technologii? Do tego to wyjątkowa publikacja, z którą można rozmawiać. Więcej dowiecie się z naszej rozmowy, a jeżeli jeszcze nie macie tej książki, odsyłam Was do AIBooks.pl. A nuż zrobicie sobie lub komuś bliskiemu wartościowy prezent mikołajkowy. Dobrego dnia i niech AI będzie z Wami.
No dobrze, drodzy Państwo, witam serdecznie. Niezwykły wieczór, niezwykły dzień, wieczór bogaty w premiery, nowości, rzeczy, które gwarantuję Państwu będą wyznaczały nowe standardy na rynku, nie tylko jeżeli chodzi o edukację, ale przede wszystkim o krzewienie i propagowanie sprawdzonych informacji. Ja nazywam się Karol Stryja, jestem hostem podcastu 99 twarzy AI i mam ogromny honor, przyjemność i radość wewnętrzną, że mogę dzisiaj spotkać się z Państwem, ale nie tylko z Państwem, ale również z autorkami pierwszej książki wydanej przez AIBooks. To spotkanie będzie prowadzone w języku angielskim, także pozwólcie Państwo, że zrobię mały switch and I will talk in English. So, guys, please, let's warmly welcome our today's guests. Tamilli Triantoro, Aleksandra Przegalińska, please welcome on stage. Two co-authors of fantastic book, Converging Minds, and what? Let's talk about this fantastic book. So, Tamilli, tell us more about yourself. What's your AI story? What's your academic story?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question, Carol. So I'm Tamilli Triantoro. I'm traveling from, JFK Airport. I work at Quinnipiac University. It's in Connecticut in the United States. And my AI story started with human-AI interaction. So back in the day when we didn't speak as much about AI, we still spoke a lot about humans, us people, communicate with new technologies. And it was internet commerce, it was gamification, it was artificial intelligence, various applications. So my interest was always in how do we collaborate with technologies. How do we use them to make our lives easier? How can we use it to make our lives a little bit more streamlined? And so that's how it all started.
So you believe there's a synergy between people and AI?
Absolutely. And this is what we try to show in our book as well.
Thank you very much. Ola, you are one of the pillars of AI in Poland. Could you please share with us some facts, some stories that are not known for everyone?
Which stories?
Connected with AI, of course.
Okay. Connected with AI, stories that are not widely known. Well, I'm not sure, what to share, guys, because it seems that many of you are quite AI savvy and you know many things. But I think for me, less known fact about artificial intelligence today, about generative artificial intelligence, is that it's based on a fairly old technology. So Tamilli said that it's been growing incrementally, and I think it's very true. Some of us don't realize that AI is almost 100 years old as a discipline, and actually some of the algorithms that today serve us within this big bundle that is called ChatGPT or Claude have been developed in the 20s of the previous century, 20s and then 40s. And that tells you a lot, because now we feel like it's a big acceleration, and maybe to some people it feels like AI came out of nowhere. but the truth is it's been with us for such a long time. We just didn't find the proper use cases for these algorithms. So to me, it's kind of striking, I think.
Okay, that's about the technology. And how about you?
Me?
Yes.
Oh,
What drives you to be so
okay.
active?
That.
What's your favorite book, author, idea?
Well, now this is my favorite book because I'm emotional about it, because it's ours and, it's the hero of today. So, I'm sort of really excited that we put it together with Tamila, and the whole journey was in so many ways very crazy. But sort of maybe to just tell a bit about how it started with me. I studied philosophy. And then sort of I was lucky enough to meet professors who were philosophers fascinated in artificial intelligence. And they kind of, helped me to grow my fascination.
I was really surprised when I
Yeah.
read that your original education's path was philosophy, not
Yeah,
technology.
it's actually true. And I don't think it's very... I don't think it's so uncommon for people who are into philosophy to be interested in AI because it's the biggest metaphysical project out there right now. I mean, there are no bigger questions, honestly. I mean, there are a couple of other equally important ones, but this one is a big one, I think. But I'll just say that, I've spent 2 years of my life in Second Life. Who knows Second Life here? Are there any? Oh, okay. So some of you, the Generation Z probably doesn't know them, and neither does Alpha. But it was like a technology, an early metaverse, you could say, where you could develop avatars, and these avatars were interacting in that alternative life. You could build communities, and there was a currency inside. And I was hired at the first year of my PhD studies to work there. Fully immerse myself and build bots there. And sort of I was, taught how to do it. And then I was building avatars and bots. And I was researching how they interacted and what kind of communities they were building. So actually, that really started, as my AI adventure from the standpoint of weird kinds of virtual beings, conversational assistants, very early days.
Which year was that?
Yeah. That was 2010, and already at that time, Second Life was in the past. It was the decadent late stage of the Second Life. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
Great. Tamila, how did you meet each other?
This is a great story that I do, in fact, like telling everybody about, because Ola and I, we met during pandemic. And that was not a time when you met a lot of people, because how confined we were to our own geographical environment.
Online or offline?
Our first meeting was online. And actually, we have somebody here in the audience, Gideon Werner, who made this
Is
introduction.
Gideon here with us?
Yeah,
Waving
thank
to you.
you.
And
Great applause
we're
for...
thanking this guy for this collaboration, because it wouldn't have happened without him.
Guys, let's give some applause.
So we did meet online, but it was a very, if I may, dry conversation about sharing some research ideas.
Yeah, it was a dry
in what we do.
conversation indeed, yes.
However, about a year after that, we met in Cambridge, Massachusetts, actually in a coffee shop near Harvard University. And I only had 30 minutes because I had a reservation, I had somewhere to go. And these 30 minutes became 45. 45 minutes became 1 hour. 1 hour after, I started making calls that I'm going to be late because I really like this conversation. And so since our work together began, and it's not only the book, it's also a lot of academic research that we've been involved together.
Not only book, but also I've heard that you were publishing the blog, right?
The blog, yeah, on LinkedIn. You wanna tell a bit about that?
Yeah, so it's called AI One-on-One. And that was just an idea for us to, especially in the very beginning when ChatGPT was not even available to everybody and we accessed it using API, we wanted to share the knowledge, what we are learning out of it. And somehow it really got traction.
Yeah, it got traction. I particularly remember now, it's almost Halloween time. So I remember particularly the episode that we wanted to do with a very early version of ChatGPT about Halloween. And it started generating these horrendous stories, unfiltered, horrible stories that were no fun at all. Not like the Addams Family, but like really awful. And then I remember that we were like, we cannot publish this stuff. This is just bad. So today, probably a lot of that would not be possible 2 years in. This technology is much more tamed. But at that time, it was a wild ride.
But you know what? I truly believe that original blogs written by real people will come back and will be as popular as 10, 15 years ago. What do you think about that?
Well, sort of.
Speaking to generative AI.
Well, I would say that, you know, in general, I think uniqueness and authenticity will matter more. There are things happening also right now in Poland with artificial intelligence that we may not necessarily like always.
Radio Kraków?
Yeah, I'm talking about the synthetic radio. And I think, you know, if that's the case, if there will be more projects that are trying to be completely synthetic without human intervention, I think there will be a need for, you know, this authenticity that comes from human interaction. So I think, you know, I would agree with you that in the future we might see smaller niches of people who are really interested in something and they're invested in it. And maybe they're not out there, you know, surfing the whole of the internet, but actually they're building a smaller community with similar values. Yeah.
Communities with real relationship.
With real interactions where it's kind of clear that you are talking to a human and not a bot. And if it's a bot, it's also clear that it's a bot. So yeah. I think we need that.
Tamila, my question is, are you complementary to each other? How do you work together with Ola?
How we work together. So, well, we have a source companion apparently called AI. Well, at least as in the book. So
more, because there are 4 assistants in the book. So there were 6 of us writing this book.
6 of us. So we wrote a book in about 4 months. 4 months. So we got our contract signed in June. And then in July, we started thinking, all right, so what are we writing about? And one of the most important questions for us was, how can we write in the same voice? Because Ola, of course, has her own distinct style. I have my own, and now we also have AI. And so we created instructions for our artificial intelligence assistant to serve 4 distinct roles. And the first one was idea generator, which was somewhat helping us to find new things in the domain we were writing about. And the second one was style amplifier, to make sure that everything comes together in the same way. We also had AI critic that criticized its own work and also our work. And the fourth one
was the field expert, I believe.
The field expert. And then it was very interesting for us also to evaluate how each one performs. And the best one was, we actually both agreed after, it was AI critic.
Yeah,
so
by far.
And were you arguing between you and
with AI
and
or
no, between you?
No.
So how we collaborate, just considering geographical differences?
No. I'm asking about arguing about concepts, ideas, and the way how you work together.
No, I don't think we argued, but I remember one moment which was kind of special. So Tamila said, we started off in June, sort of conceptualizing how we want this book to be. We had some concepts in our head, but it was a big experiment for us, how to do it. We were sure we wanted to do it with AI. We were sure we wanted to do it very diligently and with a method. So we're trying to come up with something. And I remember I was sitting on vacation in Spain, and Tamila sent me a message. So I started generating, and I got bored. That's what she wrote to me. I started generating, and I got so bored with this. And I think that made us both think that probably if we just write prompts and generate pieces of content, it's not going to work, not only because it's not going to be good in terms of quality, but it's also going to be super boring for us. And
Tamila, could you deep dive about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So as we started working on this project, and again, the idea was conceived about June, July of last year. We still worked with GPT 3.5, which was state of the art back then. And we didn't know exactly how this project is going to materialize because it was fairly new in the process. And we had this intellectual challenge. Can we make AI work and help us with creating something innovative? And so I did get bored. Yeah. And then we really started rethinking the process a little bit. So
What was the solution for that?
Human collaboration. So the entire idea of the book about human AI collaboration really got supported by the way we worked with AI. So with our input, with all us ideas, and with AI critic, it became so much more interesting for us to participate.
Yeah, I think we just decided sort of that these interactions with AI, they have to be more dense and there has to be more of a human input to actually make it count, you know, sort of so that this book really expresses what we want to express. Because at the beginning, it felt like our voices were missing from this book. The concept was there, but it felt off. And yeah, and I think when we started interacting with the model much more and developing our own master prompt, so this big prompt that kind of has shown our values, what do we want to do with this book, why have we decided to write it, and sort of when we started developing smaller prompts and also really correcting those AI models all the time. I remember asking it so many times to repeat, do it differently. Then it turned out to be more interesting.
Exactly. Could you give us some examples what worked out very well and what didn't work out?
Yeah, well, you can talk about the roles maybe, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. So as we developed 4 different roles for our AI assistant, we realized that the one that performed worst was idea generator. So I do have an explanation now why that happened, because as we started writing, again, summer 2023, we needed really very, very new material. Considering that pre-trained models are trained on way older data, we did not have any new examples. So we had to do our own research for absolutely everything in the book. What our assistants were good for is criticism. So it was really good in criticizing not only our content, but also its own, which was quite beneficial to streamline writing. And what I also found very useful is, well, everybody sometimes experiences this writer block. So you start writing and then at some point you're like, oh, okay, so where do I go from here? Or if you have 2 great ideas, but then you don't have a connection, how do I connect them in such a way that it actually flows? So AI was really good at it.
But I will add to that I think one of the failures was also the style amplifier. To be honest, you know, we were expecting quite a lot from that one because we wanted to create our own style that would be sort of really, you know, valuing our distinctive voices, but also bridging them. And then it turned out that all 3 models, but I think GPT in particular, would always find a way to come back to its own default style, you know, with all those words that we all know and recognize. At least I recognize them very well in my student essays.
Self, testament, dive in.
Yeah,
That would be great
the
to create
realms and landscapes of this. And we were like, no, come on.
That would be great to create a RAG model for your based on your publications from the time before, right?
Yeah, well, now a RAG is possible, and you know, we went in that direction, obviously, with this Polish edition of the book. But prior to that, you know, it was not available. So I remember being super unhappy with the style amplifier because I thought it's a stylometric tool that can write haiku and rap for you and do so many things. And yet here we end up in this weird lingo, you know? And so that was the part that I think where humans were most involved, that we were really looking for a way to say things, to express ourselves. And here AI was not particularly helpful.
Ewa Chamczyk was telling us about the self-publishing platform that Campus AI is going to launch. How would you describe the process of creating a valuable book? Could you dig deeper on that?
Well, I guess ideas are important. And talking about human AI collaboration, we can work.
But if I may say, ideas are very important, but the way how you work is even much more important because it makes ideas possible.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, that made me kind of. I'm a bit perplexed by that. I think ideas matter. Yeah, I would.
That's why I'm asking about the
Yeah.
process of creating the book, because we've got all ideas, but how many of you has already published the book? One hand. Congrats,
Yes, for Ines.
The second one, great. So 2 people, 3. Congrats. So I'm asking, speaking to the self-publishing platform, what would be your advice to organize yourself to
Okay.
create and to publish a book?
Well, for me, working with co-author was actually important because, of course, publisher sets deadlines, but when you work with somebody, you feel responsibility to deliver. And we generate, well, working together with AI, I think I generated a project management schedule for us, who is responsible for what and by when we should deliver. And back then we didn't have really agentic AI systems. So I was an agent. I would go through the project management schedule and I would send email like, hey, we need this by this date. And so that's essentially how we did it. But I think this level of responsibility to somebody, another human, is important.
Yeah,
Hola.
that's true. She's the. You can even tell by the handwriting when we signed this book. You know who is chaotic and who is agentic. No, I want to come back to what Tamila started saying. Not about the process, but really the idea, because I remember we never had arguments, but I think we had this incredibly interesting conversation because I started writing the intro and I said in the very first sentence that we're not interested in general artificial intelligence. And Tamila was like, whoa, that's a big statement. Are you sure we want to go in that direction? And then I remember we had this incredibly interesting exchange that was helpful to both of us because I could express what I mean by not being interested in AI sort of advancing for itself. And Tamila was like sort of really creating a whole narrative out of it, So she said like, so you don't mean to criticize general AI, but what you want to say is that something else matters. And that is this collaborative component where humans are not in the loop, but actually in the center. And I remember that has been very interesting. And this is where the idea, about the method of writing this book, how we're going to divide labor, but also how we're going to involve the assistants, where we do want them, where we don't want them. This came from this, early conceptual discussion that we had.
Speaking to the writing techniques, I would like to dig deeper on the prompting technique as well. Could you share some practices about prompting that you used?
Ola created the first prompt for us, and it was about 1 page long. And right now, 1 page sounds like, it's normal probably, but with 3.5.
Sorry. Guys, how do you think, how long is the average prompt used by people? How would you say? Perfect, 9 words. And the average...
Is that a fact?
Yes. I found that in the...
Well, I did start with write me a book, and it didn't, so...
and then she got bored.
Okay, let's get back to prompting.
Yeah, so Ola took the first attempt, and again, it was 1 page long, and we worked with GPT 3.5, which, the longer the prompt back in the day, the shorter the output, and so there was always this conundrum, how do we kind of balance these things? And the prompt was excellent. It was so long, detailed, and it started with...
Juicy.
Very much so. And it started with, I am Aleksandra Przegalińska, and I do such and such things, and I need to create something for this particular audience and so forth. And so I created my prompt very similarly because, again, we wanted the book to be written in one voice, but my prompt said, I am Tamilli Triantoro, and I don't like words, delve, state, testament, and landscape, and so it tried not to include them for me. But yes, we worked with the same prompt, actually pretty lengthy. We did modify it as also technology was developing, and we also realized what worked and what didn't.
Ola?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think my favorite prompt is optimize for brevity. Because particularly, the early versions, like Tamila said, of all these models, they tend to generate redundant text. It's still true, but less so now. But I think for the majority of us, I was really scared, and I remember talking to someone that I'm scared of the internet that will be flooded with irrelevant text that is not needed, repetition of the same thing. So for me, I would just add at some point, because you said clear, concise style. I think that was part of your prompt always. You would add clear, concise style, which was, to remove the ChatGPT.
No fluff.
Yeah, ChatGPT lingo. But in my case, it was always optimized for brevity. But also, I then discovered, because we were looking for hints, and I discovered like an interesting blog with a guy sort of sharing some tips about prompting styles. And he said, like, always try and use Spartan style, which means like, without the redundant words, like Spartan style. So I remember I started adding optimize for brevity and Spartan style at some point. And then I liked those little pieces of text that I got out of it, because it felt like it was squeezing the essence of things a bit more.
And how about confronting one model to each other? Were you using, for example, different models for different roles, let's say roles? Ewa Chamczyk was telling that they were using, for example, Claude for being a kind of critic. How about you? How about your practices?
So when we wrote the book, GPT was a little more used and updated, maybe slightly, so more often. We use Claude to generate cases. We actually use Bard as well, because Gemini did not
Bard
exist.
as,
So
for Gemini right now.
so we use Bard, Claude, and GPT, but the book mostly was written using
So
ChatGPT.
we developed, I think, full assistance in GPT, but at some point, I think both of us were trying to compare what we would get out of each model. And I think for me, that was an early discovery into how significantly these models differ already, or differed already at that time. And now we feel it even more, because Gemini and Claude are completely different models than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a storyteller. And I think Claude is much more of a diligent, analytical person searching through the content that you give it. And I think it was already somewhat visible at that time, but now it stands out even more.
Perfect. Yes?
And just to add to this, now every time there is a new update, a new, subversion of familiar generative AI, for example, Preview 01, every time I look at it, I always think, well, if we had that a year ago, how useful it would have been, certain things. Because talking about prompting, even to generate a schedule of divided labor, even that took so many different attempts to train ChatGPT to provide this table to me. Now I think with O1, it would have been done in just one click with a shorter prompt, right? So technologies do develop.
That's the thing. I think, I'm quite glad that Campus AI and AI Books decided to make it a living book, because I think it has to be a living book, because the topic that we're trying to capture here is rapidly evolving. And because of that, I would still say that there is this thing that will not change, and that's the human component, and that the fact that we bet on human AI collaboration here. So that did not change, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want the book to be generated. But I think, many more chapters can be written about what we've done here. So this book will continue with the users.
And how about human-to-human collaboration? You were telling us about the collaboration with AI models, and how about people? Did you have any help from the people sides, critics? Can you tell us any kind of story?
Absolutely. So every chapter was evaluated by an expert, a human expert in the field, just to make sure that we have another, pair of eyes just to go over. Yes, we had our AI critic, and it worked really well, but it was important for us to create product for other people to read and not for AI. So, of course, we had human help and support.
Yeah. Like around, I think, 7 people altogether who have read different versions of the book and helped us out. We thank them in the prologue.
Can you share your perspective on the AIBooks projects that Ewa Chamczyk told us?
Well, I'm extremely curious about it because it's a way to challenge a classical book format. So what Eva is doing is both sort of nurturing the classical book format, because I think this book is beautifully published, and for that I'm very thankful to Eva and to the whole team, really. But I think on the other hand, there's this boldness in experimenting and saying, okay, so we have AI. What about those books? How will they change? And there's, one easy way, just simply to say, hey, you can generate books now, and we've seen such books on Amazon, sometimes completely useless, maybe sometimes not so bad, but, there's plenty of that. But I think what we share with AI Books and Campus AI is this human AI collaboration modality. So what we decided, I think that, and what Eva decided that would be a good idea, is to create a bot out of that book that could talk about this book with the users, that could interact with this with the users and ask for their ideas, and also respond to their questions that they would perhaps otherwise not be able to ask to us, because, well, here we have a meeting and we can interact, but it's not always possible to talk. And this is a living book that talks to you, and speaking using our voices. There is a RAG with not only this manuscript but also other side documents that we've been creating meticulously along the way. So I think it's a fascinating experiment.
Perfect. Tamila, the question to you: what advice would you give to aspiring authors of the books?
This is a great question. And I've been thinking already, how would I start working on the second book? Because this actually is my
That's
first.
in plans already.
Well, with Eva and the team and AI Books, you just can't resist. You just want to be more productive and produce more. But I think it should still start with an idea. And when you have at least one direction, and I think it should be based on your interest, because you're going to spend some time on it and might as well work on something that is indeed interesting to you. And I would have just start brainstorming with we call them AI experts as well. So just create a chat in which you brainstorm your ideas to see how can you make it better, what other things are available, what are other authors or things that have been published on it. And yes, just starting from there, starting small with expanding the idea, maybe then generating a table of contents, and then just from each item in the extended table of contents, go and develop each piece. And then we already know that AI really works well with writer block to create this bridging between your ideas and sub-ideas. So that's how I would approach it.
And how about the deadline?
ChatGPT will create a table that I strongly recommend to follow. Yeah, because otherwise, of course, the things will never be on time. So
No,
yeah.
it's actually not true, because Tamila was like very, was always reminding me of the deadlines. You were like the agent behind the deadlines. No, but I think what you said, I actually, I love collaboration, honestly. I wrote most of my books with other people. Now with Tamila, prior with Dariusz Jemielniak, who's also like a professor, also working closely with us at Campus AI as an advisor. So, I love collaborating with others. With the research that we do, we also are quite a big team of researchers. So for me, if you guys like that, because some people prefer to work by themselves, but if you are, a teammate and you like sparring partners and other people to work with, and maybe add some, AI sparring partners as well to that team, make it a hybrid team, then that I think is a great start. Because what I value about this book is mostly, all the conversations we've had about it, really, that, that stands out, and that's something I will remember.
Perfect. Yes,
And
Tamila.
just one more thing to add, and if you don't have a collaborator and decide to go solo, I also found it useful to have a blog. Because for the blog, again, you have a deadline to publish, you have the audience, and you have to produce some new content. So I think that could be helpful to stay on track.
Perfect. Guys, I've got the one flying mic. Are there any questions from you?
Comments, doubts?
Hello. I have a question. Okay.
Works.
Yeah. Were there any specific rules that you had to put on yourself in order to not give up all your creativity? Are there any rules that authors who engage with AI have to sort of control themselves to not use not lose their own ideas to the generators?
Oh, that's a great question, I think. And I will honestly say that I think I was there in that very dilemma while writing this book. And that was around the time when Tamila told me that she is bored. Because, I felt the same, but I didn't admit it. And I felt like it's quite well written, but what's in it for me, And I actually remember rediscovering the joy of writing by myself. Even rough drafts and making some notes, they can be polished up by the model and then again revisited by you. But actually, I think this exercise of writing this book, and I think many other exercises in the future, like music compositions, whatever creativity endeavor it is, maybe Carol said it, prior, that authenticity will matter and real blogs written by people will matter. So for me, I definitely rediscovered the joy of writing. And I think as we were moving further ahead, I was writing more, not less.
Tamila?
And I agree with that. I was writing more because remember my initial prompt was, write me a book, which never happened. And I noticed that I myself have become more critical towards our writing, and we did so many human edits. Actually, the last chapter of the book starts with, this book did not write itself. Because then at the end of this project, we realized how much effort we put into it, and we actually expected less. We thought AI would do a little more, yet humans really, we did a lot of work for the book.
Perfect. Any other questions?
If I would just make it very short, so there are absolutists in the AI, and then there are optimistics in AI, and then there are activists in AI, and then there are people that they are agnostic about AI, and then there are people who are pessimist about AI. And any technology needs adoption, so we have to somehow bring people to that level. But the only problem with this specific technology is that people who are absolutists, sometimes even they deny human beings. So to an extent, they just feel like, okay, we're going to keep the AI and just leave everything to them because they are superior to us. Where do you see is the sweet spot in that part? Because whatever you see around your company is everything is about humans and AI. So it's not just we're just creating AI, but it's also somehow seeing a place for humanity in it. So where do you see the sweet spot so that you bring everybody to that level, so that first of all we're creating a perfect technology and also somehow not seeing too much of this, doomsday people and then people who bring a lot of negativity to this?
I mean, I'm happy to start, and then I guess Tamila can take over. I think none of us really believes in the AI overlords. That's clear, also from the book. I think we're quite pragmatic, both of us, and hopefully, rational. This boring middle, I think, is the space that we occupy. Neither dystopian nor utopian, none of that. We do have, I think, because of the fact that we care about human AI collaboration, it clearly also, impacts for instance, my desired trajectory of AI's development, or maybe Tamila's to some extent as well. So I do not have dreams about super intelligence, even if it's safe, unless humans are involved, right? I'm not interested in the development of this technology without humans. And that's a particular kind of way, I think, of thinking about it. I think we did not want to give in to any of these ideas, but I think Tamila's chapter on the futures is quite interesting because it plays with different possible scenarios. So, maybe you want to...
Yeah, and I just
Tamila?
wanted to add a couple of words about that. So there is indeed a chapter, and we had this question, and especially last year, I think there was even more conversation about where AI is going because it was newer than it is today. And so we started working with AI to understand, can we forecast future or at least get some ideas? And we look at it from the pragmatic perspective, from the realist perspective, from the optimist perspective and pessimist perspective. And our conclusion was combining all of them perhaps will give us a little clear understanding, at least for the nearest future, where we might possibly go.
So we actually prompted the model to foresee from optimist standpoint, techno-pessimist standpoint, how it's going to unfold. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got space for one question.
Tamilli, your comments about project management triggered something very painful in my mind, and I suspect your answers might be very painful as well. When will AI interpret a manager's expectations and replace onerous, tedious, very expensive CRM systems and ERP systems in business? God forbid financial systems, that might be a little bit more complicated.
Well, this is also a great question, especially that a couple of days ago, Anthropic announced their new model for computer use, which is our first step, I think, to agentic AI. So I am very interested to see where that goes. Basically, using voice commands, the machine can just start clicking and going to websites and opening applications for us. So I see there are first steps in this development. When exactly? Different people say different things, but right now...
Say it like a techno-optimist.
Like techno-optimist. All right, why don't you prompt me?
That's what I did.
So from the techno-optimist perspective, this is 2025. I hear a lot of 2026 as well.
Just this Monday, I was actually at a conference where AI-based ERP was presented. It was a very early version, so I think the techno-optimistic viewpoint might be right here.
Chyba niestety, ale nie mamy już więcej czasu na to, żebyśmy razem rozmawiali. Także zapraszam.
Dziękujemy bardzo.
Dziękujemy bardzo, Karolu. Ola, Tamila, I would like to thank you for your amazing book, for your amazing work, for this human to human, human plus human collaboration, and for your trust to our project. And I also would like to thank you to all people involved in this book, whole editorial team, not only Claude Model, but also Antoni Szymański and Ida Świerkocka, our graphic designers for interior, Maria Bukowska, and for this beautiful cover, Ewa Domagalska, who's there, just there. Big shout out for her.
So many amazing humans in this collaboration.
Yay!
Thank you. And big bravo to Eva, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
One more time. Thank you so much.
Dziękujemy bardzo. W takim razie jeszcze raz oklaski i cóż, niech AI będzie z wami wszystkimi.
Dzięki serdeczne za Waszą uwagę i czas. Jeżeli podobał Ci się ten odcinek, będę serdecznie zobowiązany, jeżeli puścicie go dalej w świat. A tymczasem pozdrawiam Was serdecznie. W przypadku jakichkolwiek pytań lub chęci nawiązania potencjalnej współpracy, piszcie na adres karol@99twarzy.ai.pl. Do usłyszenia. Podcast 99 twarzy AI. Zaprasza Karol Stryja.